Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Love Fruit Pod. Today, my guest comes to us from Hungary, and that's Laszlo Nagy. And Laszlo has a lot of experience with the raw food movement and raw food lifestyle, and is a Hippocrates Health educator. Has been educated by the Hippocrates system, but and formed a publishing company to bring more information to Hungary around living foods and the raw foods lifestyle, and but has also at one point moved more towards the 80-10-10 style approach of a low-fat raw vegan diet, a fruit-based diet. And I remember meeting you, Laszlo, at the Slovenia Fruits and Health Festival.
That's correct.
2013, nearly 9 years ago. And I remember how you, when Doug Graham was speaking, and you were laughing so loud at all the stories. And then I saw you at the Woodstock Fruit Festival. So you're someone that loves to travel and learn and go deep into this. So I look forward to learning a bit more about you today and more from you. Is there anything you'd like to say about yourself as an introduction?
Hi, Ronnie. Hi, everyone. Yes, I born in Hungary, 1964. So I'm 58 this year. And I got into the raw living food movement by the Hippocrates Health Educator course, 9 weeks in West Palm Beach, Florida. My blood work basically in 2008 was disastrous when I went back to Hippocrates just for a checkup. And then 2 years later, a friend gave me Doug Graham book, and he said, I wanted to know your feedback because this is your alley. And I already published the book publishing. I already founded the book publishing company in Hungary, published all the Hippocrates movement, the living food, Brian Clements, and Wigmore's, Viktoras Kulvinskas books. And basically when I read the 80-10-10, I realized, wow, this is like almost like the missing link, what I was missed. Because I always loved fruit. I was always hesitant to accept the approach of the Hippocrates basis of fruit is not ideal for human consumption. So when I went to the Slovenia Fruit Festival where I met you, it was a mind-blowing experience, clearly, about seeing someone who's fit as a needle and 11 years older than me, and representing something which I was just dreamed of. One day I could have that physical level of activity. And as a Bikram Yoga teacher, I'm also graduated by the Bikram system, which the name is, a little bit tarnished by itself, by him, but it doesn't matter. The series, the 26 poses, an amazing sequence. So when I met with Doug and with you in 2013 at the Slovenian and also the Woodstock Fruit Festival, I realized that practicing 7 times yoga a week doesn't make you fit.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and it was definitely a wake-up call, because I thought if I practice 5-7 times a week Bikram, which is a very hardcore young type of yoga, I'm gonna be fit. And then this character by the name Doug just showed me you are not fit at all, because the fitness has five characteristics: how strong you are, how fast you are, how flexible you are, how what is your strength level on like running a long distance marathon, for example, like stamina, and also flexibility and reflex is the 5th. And he said it clearly: whatever it is out of that 5 is the weakest link of yours, the biggest challenge to practice, that's your health and fitness level. So I was shocked to the core, including the experiences. You remember his exercise every morning. It was shocking. to me as a yoga teacher, it was shocking carrying you, for example, up the hill. You remember?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you remember he told us to run up the hill and then back down, then run up again and back down?
and somebody's behind, somebody's on your,
Yeah, yeah.
your belly pack, whatever you call that.
And
So
then,
anyway, so
yeah, and
after
then
the,
we
yeah,
were
go ahead.
carrying all the logs from one to
Yeah,
another. Yeah.
yeah, that was definitely a wake up call. And at that time I was 49, and I thought I'm a top of the world. So I went back to Hungary between the Slovenian and the Woodstock Fruit Festival. I went back and I purchased my first 5 fingers Bikram shoes, running shoes. And I went to the Margit Island, is an island in Budapest. I was living nearby at that time. And I ran one circle, which is 5.5 kilometers. And then I had muscle sore for 3 days. So I realized, like, wow, this is something this is not okay. So, a few weeks later, we met up at the Woodstock Fruit Festival. I remember that. And then it's just deepened my level of understanding of, wow, this is definitely the biggest challenge of become fit according to this knowledge, or according to this basis of what is fitness. Very simple. And then in 2014, 16, and 18, something out of these three, I attended Doug's Sidrovuli's health and fitness, science of health and fitness, where you train 3 times a day for 5 days. And it was challenging but it was always like a milestone into my regime, how to improve my health. And around 2014 or 15, I took up triathlon along with the Bikram system, and I competed in an amateur level on an Olympic race. My best time is 2 hours 53 minutes, and then I was beating my 40 years old group of friends who were runner, and I was beating them, and I was about 12 years older than their age group. So it was definitely a clarification and a proof to me that with the fruit-based lifestyle, there is no limit. You just keep getting better and better and better. So it was an amazing, amazing transformation, what I understood about health and fitness according to this 80-10-10 lifestyle. It just completely changed my approach on what is fitness.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So I would like to learn more about you from the start. So were you brought up in a conventional diet?
Oh yeah.
What did that look like?
Yeah. Our family was so conventional that our family, every Christmas, we killed a pig. It's a ritual in Hungary. Then when a family get together in the suburb, my grandparents were living in the suburb, and my grandparents was a butcher. My grandfather was a butcher, a professional butcher. He knew how to kill a pig professionally. So it was a family gathering where 15 of us got together, and we killed the pig in the morning, and we drank the fried blood, as that was the breakfast around 8 o'clock in the morning, fried blood. And around lunchtime, it was the fried liver, the fresh fried liver. It was like at the evening you have the sausage and everything. So it was definitely a very conventional way how I brought up as a Hungarian. And around 1990, when I decided to go to United States, a few months before I decided to immigrate to United States, I got a huge problem with my prostate. And I had no clue why. It was just, eating McDonald's 3 times a day. It was just my body, age of 26, gave me a sign something is not okay here. So I took a leap of faith with 2 suitcases to go to United States, as life is a big adventure. And I decided on that day, I'm going to be a vegetarian without knowing anything regarding what is vegetarianism. It was not many books, no internet at that time. So basically I just kind of, okay, let's see what this vegetarian approach is about. So I went through the lacto, the ovo, the macrobiotic, the Indian style of vegetarian, Ayurveda. I discovered so many things. I practiced that, but I never really settled into I considered I find something until I find the raw food movement, Viktoras Kulvinskas, in a blue-green algae gathering in Oregon, the Afenazana and Floss Aqua, blue-green algae network marketing. So basically, that's how I got to know Viktoras, because at that time I was following the macrobiotics, and macrobiotics, according to Viktoras, they are all cuckoos. And I was shocked because, macrobiotics, I followed the movement, Hippocrates Institute, and they were so keen about how they, so firm on how they could heal cancer and all these type of things. And then here we go, an old gentleman from Lithuania at the gathering at the Klamath Lake, Oregon, was telling into my face, macrobiotics are cuckoos because they are still cooking their food. And I was like, wow, what was he talking about? So I done a little research, and I realized he founded some kind of institute with Ann Wigmore. So that's how I ended up in the living food movement. And I met with Brian Clement. I visited the Hippocrates, and a few years later, I went through their 9 weeks health educator program. And that's how I got into the publishing business, to realizing I want to teach this. I want to offer this information to the Hungarian people about the Health Institute, or the wheatgrass juice approach, or 80% raw, 20% cooked. It's just like totally fit in that time about what is my role, according to, based on in a Hungarian background. I brought this information back to Hungary to spread the word about that. And then, as basically until 2008, it was moving very well, so to speak.
Yeah, and when you went to the US, what were you doing there? Were you working there or studying, or what was?
Oh no, I was working. I started as an illegal alien completely, just a tourist visa, expired tourist visa. And I was doing all kinds of work, like starting on the roofing, went on the roof with tar and all this. And then I was a furniture restorator and a driver instructor. I settled down as my main job was in New York City, a limousine driver. So I was driving a lot of high level of dignities from the Saudi consulate, a lot of princesses. And I was basically doing that until I moved to Florida. And in Florida, I got into the network marketing of the blue-green algae. I was a waiter in Florida, waiting tables.
Oh wow! And was that successful for you?
I was making okay money, but I knew that it was something not what I wanted to do. But I loved the Floridian lifestyle, the beach, playing tennis every day. I was very active at the time as well. I started doing triathlon in Florida, by the way. That was my early triathlon phase. That was my first triathlon approach in Florida when I moved to Florida.
How did you get involved with the blue-green algae? What happened there?
I don't know how. Basically, I responded an ad, make money, make a difference. Our product, uniquely wild, organically crafted, and telephone number. And I responded. I received the tape. I listened to the tape. So that's how I got into this network marketing of distributing blue-green algae, this amazing source of nourishment from this unique lake in Oregon. And that's how I ended up. I wanted to go to the August celebration because I start making some level of money with the network marketing. So I decided, if I want to be successful in a network marketing company, I better go to their yearly celebration in August. Sure. So that's how I ended up in the Klamath Lake. And that's when I met with Viktoras Kulvinskas, the founder of Hippocrates. So basically, blue-green algae was, to me, the key how to meet with the key person at that network marketing base, whose background was the founder of the Hippocrates Health Institute, also wrote the very famous book, Survival into the 21st Century.
For sure.
Viktoras. So it was, to me, it was like a Bible. I find this, oh my God, I find my movement, until 2008, when I realized that something is not okay with this high-fat approach, because my body giving me the sign was something not okay.
So what was your diet at that point? What did it look like?
A lot of nut pate. I was eating a lot of nut pate. I was eating tons of greens. I'm eating much more fruit than the Hippocrates would allow or would recommend. But because I love fruit in Hungary during the, let's say, June, May through October, we have amazing variety of local fruit in Hungary. While I was living in Florida, I didn't like the approach of not eating fruit. So my favorite fruit still today is oranges. I could just go oranges like all day. And number two is durian. So many people just basically, if you ask a fruitarian, what is your favorite fruit? Like durian, yeah. But to me, is number one is definitely oranges, because the varieties and the experience what I have in Florida, it was just outrageous, the type of and the many different kind of oranges I was eating in from the tree. I was just salivating. You see, I'm starting. That's how giving me away. That definitely is. I'm just talking about oranges, and always my mouth is start salivating. So that's how oranges become to me still the staple. Even today, I have about, let's see, 150 kilograms of oranges in the refrigerator system in downstairs still nowadays.
Amazing.
And I have maybe 40-50 kilograms of bananas in different ripening stage, frozen, dehydrated, so.
Yeah. So you took the health educator program at Hippocrates. What was that experience like?
It was an amazing foundation to me to understanding how the human body works. What is the connection between deepening my connection between the food and your physical health level. But basically the focus, which is got me stuck in the sense, because I was leading seminars, I was having my private consultation. And I remember the key question when someone came to me a private consultation in Hungary is always was, so what's the reason you came to see me? What's your problem? What's your misalignment? And it's basically caught up with me too, because I was energetically not as energetic. I was practicing Bikram Yoga, but on an okay level, but never challenged myself physically. What I'm even nowadays, I'm training, I'm training 15 times a week. I have training schedule. I was biking, I was doing yoga, I do some cardio, TRX. So I'm a very physical being. But at that time, I was like just a kind of a mellow level of, and then I love the approach when I realized that something is bigger out there. Then the approach is how you can increase or top up your physical measure. I mean, your physical sport activity level, measurable sport activity, performance level. I was looking for the word. When you can improve your performance via fruits and vegetables, that's a different approach, instead of focusing on the sickness level of the Hippocrates approach.
Yeah, sure. And what was the program? Were you living in there? Were you having classes every day? How did it work?
Basically, I was teaching the Drumbalo Melchizedek Flower of Life workshop. I was also a Flower of Life facilitator by Drumbalo. And then during that workshop, I was teaching that workshop in my home setting. And then as I was teaching that workshop, I was feeding the participant who came to my home. And I was feeding them according to I've been a vegan since 1990. So I was feeding them with vegan menu. I have a chef who was living with me during the workshop settings. And at the workshop, I was basically giving them some, maybe an hour lecture on the Hippocrates lifestyle. And then if anyone want to take it further for a private consultation, that's how I so-called gained or marketed myself as a health educator, without YouTube, without any social media platform at that time. So that's how I got into the express my level of understanding, the level of wisdom what I learned from Hippocrates, and I passed it on to individuals on a deeper level. And also with the publishing company, sometimes they were having many talk and gathering around the country. So it was always, I was invited as as a guest speaker on a vegetarian movement. So I basically made a name, so to speak, to myself in the Hungarian vegetarian community at that time. So,
and when did you start with yoga? Was that before or was that after?
it was in 2000. Yoga in 2000. Yoga was a very different thing, because a friend introduced me to Bikram in San Diego. She was an Ashtanga yoga teacher, and then I didn't take on Ashtanga because it was too harsh, too strong to me. I couldn't just jump into Ashtanga. But she was professional Ashtanga yoga teacher, and she said, you know what? I introduced you a different yoga. So she took me a Bikram yoga studio in 2000. And I was shocked, the experience, what I felt. And then 4 months later, I ended up in Australia in a jail. So I was serving 4.5 years in Australia, trafficking drugs.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then in jail, I got the Bikram book, and I start teaching Bikram yoga in jail to my fellow inmates. With a jumper in the scorching sun. So basically, when I came out from jail 2005, 4 years later, I took the Bikram yoga teacher training, because it was so embedded in me. It's basically saved my whole jail experience. Took me to a different level. So I deeply thanking yoga to me to pull me through to the jail time. And it was like a devotion to me. I wanted to be a Bikram yoga teacher because it's definitely saved my life in jail in Australia.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So that was my yoga. In 2009, I started teaching in Hungary, and then I felt like, okay, I'm definitely the fittest person until I met Doc.
You mentioned that you got your blood results done and they were disastrous. What do you mean by that? And
it was way too much fat in my blood, way too much fat. The triglycerides was just over the roof. So it was not okay. And then I remember when I went back to Hippocrates and took the blood work in 2008, and Anna-Marie Clement, Brian's wife, when she analyzed the blood work, and she said, you have too much fat in your blood. What are you doing? And I said, I'm doing what you taught me. So it was like, she shook her shoulder, I shook my shoulder, and I realized that, okay. So I remember I was teaching during the workshops, and I was explaining them the Hippocrates approach, but I start mellowing down. I start realizing this is something is not okay with this approach, but I didn't know where to turn, what to do. I was so involved because I had many workshops, not just in Hungary, Bulgaria, Slovenia, Croatia, Romania. So I was busy. So I didn't have much time to find Laszlo, so to speak, to look deeper. I was just accepting the fact, it's not the perfect diet, but at least I'm vegan. I had some issues with my weight, but yeah, okay, who cares? Just busy until when the saying said, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So basically 2 years later, when my blood work at Hippocrates, a friend gave me the book of the 80-10-10, and that's what got me with the new information. I realized every word what I read in this book was basically shocking to my knowledge, that I was furious, because the wisdom in that book is just penetrated through me, and I understood what I was doing wrong. Maybe I never experienced it yet, but it was a question mark in me. Wow, maybe that's the key. So it was to me very, very obvious that I had to see this guy alive. It's not just a book. I start following YouTubers like Durian Rider and Freely, and I would start eating massive banana, but I was still pouring olive oil on my salad at the evening. So it was still not, it was still a mess. So I realized that it's not okay to just watch YouTubers. Basically, you have to see how does it work on an experiential level when someone is putting the food in front of you, not just, you know, a website or a YouTuber's, you know. So it was basically in 2013 when I start a different level of experience, a journey, when I start changing drastically what I was doing, because it was so embedded me, the pattern, the so used to what I was eating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so you came across 80-10-10, and that was quite shocking to you. So was your first exposure with Doug coming to the Slovenia festival?
Yes, that was the very first live exposure of this is the guy. If I want to learn this, I definitely go to the source, because his book was amazing, and I read The Grain Damage as well. And meeting him alive and meeting with his wife and their daughter was just a life-changing experience. And you know, and going to Sidrovuli 3 times to his, you know, to his much smaller scale of workshop settings, it was just even took me further to strengthen and deepen my understanding of this is the path what I wanted to follow, for sure.
Excellent, excellent. And did you notice any major difference between the previous diet, the previous raw food style diet you're doing, and the more 80-10-10 approach?
Yeah, I mean, here is a little information which has just happened in the last 2.5 years. We moved to a house in north of Budapest. We purchased a huge house, and I had to pay back the loan. We got it from a personal friend. So, and I start doing like driving like crazy, you know, and so much chasing the money. And then I dropped the yoga teacher because the yoga studio are closed because there's a pandemic around and all this craziness. And then I was barely following the 80-10-10, barely. I was still vegan, but I was just totally detoured myself because I was just constantly driving and, you know, chasing the money, so to speak. And then my job in November just completely diminished. Like the company who I was working for is moved out. So I realized, regardless, I have a Bikram Yoga studio under our living room. This is Laszlo time. So I sold my car, I sold my motorcycle, and I flew to Costa Rica to a Hungarian friend's fruit farm. They have a fruit farm near the Panama border. And for 7 weeks, I was in a tent, you know, with a very simple lifestyle. And I start putting systematically back of the knowledge what I learned from Doug as a personal trainer, how to pull my body back to the level what I used to. And then in 7 weeks, I was at the farm, and the next 3 weeks I was in Uvita, where Doug was exactly there. I met with him 3 times just in February. I trained with him. And then when he went to England, I realized, okay, I put my physical level of health to a test. So I was doing training for an entire week, 3 times a day. So it was 21 days training. That was 210 kilometers biking, 7 Bikram yoga session, and 7 1 hours cardio, like very hardcore cardio with TRX. And then I consumed basically 4,000, 5,000 calories on banana and coconut water, full on. And then without muscle source. So from the minus 200 level, because I was not practicing yoga, I was not doing any exercise, I was just driving all day. You know, in November, went to Costa Rica in end of December, starting in a tent, very simple, just start doing little TRX, little yoga, and start gradually building it back up. And in end of February, I was reached the level of 3 training per day on a fruit diet. And my level of health is I'm 58 now, is the best ever. I'm training, you know, 10, 12, 15 times, 10 and 15 times a week, biking 150 kilometers, 4 yoga session, and maybe 4 cardio, 2 running. So it's like I never imagined age of 58 I'm going to be fitter than when I thought I was fit back in age of 40.
Amazing. And
Yeah.
what would be a typical day for you on a raw vegan diet?
I wake up and I usually go down and do a yoga session in my yoga studio, which we plan to open very soon, and heated up the room for 40 Celsius. So basically either a 40 minutes yoga session or an hour 20 minutes yoga session, depending how much I do the yoga. And I came up and I drank maybe 2 liters of orange juice. That's the next level. And then do some work on my computer, and around noon, if I go out and bike, I bike about between 30 kilometers and sometimes 50 because I go to the city, but average around 30. A bike exercise is 30 kilometers. After that, I eat a huge smoothie with 10, 15 bananas. I either put cinnamon in there or I put raw carob in there. And or sometimes instead of a cardio, instead of a bike, I do a cardio, like an hour cardio exercise with TRX, and a lot of push-ups and pull-ups, and lunges, with leg work, and a lot of juggling. I practice juggling as well, so make sure my level of reflexes are there. And then and depends. Sometimes I skip a training in the middle of the day. Sometimes I put it in the early afternoon. And then at night, basically, I eat a large raw salad with a lot of cucumber pasta. I couldn't get bored, so to speak. I could just eat cucumber pasta every single day. Like, to me, it's like heaven on earth, full on. And my partner, my wife, she steamed some vegetables for herself, potato, zucchini, and squash, and beets, carrots, and stuff like that. Cauliflower, broccoli. Sometimes I nibble on a few, sometimes not. So it depends on the day. But basically, that's the typical day as far as fruit. And then when the fruit, I mean, this is the staple. The oranges and the banana is the staple point. And when the watermelon comes from Italy very soon, and when I could afford, as far as price-wise, I could start incorporating watermelon into the day, and then all the Hungarian fruits as well during summer. So
Awesome.
basically, typically like that.
Awesome. So, do you ever need to use any supplements, anything like that?
I didn't use supplement until this craziness in the last 2 years came into our life. Now I use the NAC because I got some major meltdown last September, as far as, because I was not exercising, I was not following strictly the 80-10-10. I was just a vegan lifestyle, and we got this this massive level of flu, which is called this COVID now, and it was no energy whatsoever. And I felt this is definitely not okay to have a vegan character who's not even touching, dairy and eggs and, barely cooked food, because at that time I was still trying to eat raw, but not as dominant, but I was, let's say, 50%. And because the orange juice was always there, and then have these symptoms of put me to bed for 2 weeks. I was barely able to move my arm. So I was reading, so I started doing the NAC supplementation. And then also when I got to Costa Rica, I was a house guest of Deva Premal and Miten, the mantra singing couple, who we organized concert for them. So I'm a very good friend. And then I noticed that Deva and Miten was eating ivermectin once a week. And I was like, why you do that? I know ivermectin. I took ivermectin to Costa Rica with me without realizing that it's completely legal. You just go to the pharmacy and buy ivermectin there, and hydroxychloroquine as well. But at the time, I was just looking at them, but they're taking ivermectin just a caution, because at the time when I got sick last September, ivermectin was the one. I got it from my vet. just completely took me out of that misery of 2 weeks of just completely smashed, no energy whatsoever. And so I took it with me, make sure I have. And then when I get home and I start deepen my research of ivermectin, I have it in me, and we also take 2 times a week. We take ivermectin, just make sure, because this peptides, what they use in this whole scheme of everything is not okay, and ivermectin is definitely the solution. As far as my experience, is definitely gave me back the boost, even though it's a pharmaceutical drug. But this is a crazy time, so I just look what's going on and try to survive in a sense, because on the 80-10-10 lifestyle, I felt is something is not okay. They popped up the stress, what they're stressing our bodies. So I have to reach out somewhere, and I reached the level of ivermectin 2 times a week. So that's what it is.
Yeah, how do you know, is it Devon and Mitral?
Deva and Mitten.
Yeah, I've heard their music before. How do you know them?
Oh, I got introduced to them via just the music while I went to jail. Just right before I went to jail, I heard their first CD, and in jail, a woman who was teaching yoga brought a CD of them. So I was basically always heard their music. And then when I came back to Hungary after the jail time, I went to their concert, just like any mantra loving yogi or yogini, and I just basically love the vibe, love the way how they sang, love the atmosphere and everything. It was so calming. And also they are an Osho sannyasin, and I love Osho's. I read many Osho's book. To me, it was like a connection on a spiritual level, but I didn't know them at the time. So, and then with my ex-partner, who I had in 2013, we signed up for a Costa Rican Tantra Mantra gathering with them. And then it was 100 people, 80 people setting. So you're eating with them every morning, lunch and dinner. So one time I asked Mitten, how come you are not scheduled for this year, the European tour? Budapest is not on. And then he said, because the Hungarian organizer stepped down. And I said, no, I'm going to be your Hungarian organizer, And he said, okay, here's my manager. And then basically 3 years later, we organized the first Budapest concert for, instead of 600 people, but the previous organizer, we organized for a 2,200 people concert, and it was sold out 2 weeks before the concert. So, so we basically got a note by Mitten and Deva, like, who is this guy who's just out of the blue organizing a 2,200 concert? The next year, 2 years later, a 2,800, a big hockey stadium I organized, sold out concert. And then we became their tour manager, selling CDs and merchandise on their European tour for the last 3 concert tour in Europe. And I was driving a van of the concert tour in Europe. So basically become a household friend with Deva and Mitten. So it was to me, this Costa Rican retreat or the getaway, what I just had in end of December and end of March, was basically starting in a fruit farm, get my physical strength back. Middle section was Doug Graham, totally just the meeting, and had a exercise in a gym with weightlifting with him. Even just was a short session, maybe 1 hour each, but his presence, just the live presence and the knowledge. And still I'm daily WhatsApp and Telegram connect with Doug. So I have, every time I have a training result of the week, I send it to him, and he's pointing out where can I improve, what I have to do. So I have a weekly connection with Doug on Telegram. And then the end of the Costa Rican time was basically Deva and Mitten in their Gayatri Festival in Blue Spirit, Nosara. So I was a complete, beautiful circle. And I got back, and I got my physical strength back, my focus on 80-10-10. So it's nothing gonna deter me from that level of, that connection and devotion of this is it. This is definitely the best ever, diet or food choice what I could ever experienced so far.
Yeah, this is all incredible. And one of the things that I've consistently hearing about you, you're someone that definitely takes action on your ideas and the things you want to do. But something I'm consistently seeing is you are someone that attends events and goes to meet the people and goes to talk to the people and goes to learn from the person, and what to use the power of going to an event rather than just reading or looking at information online. What's the difference?
You know, it's like small details. I remember when I read the 80-10-10 book and I realized how to do this, and I start following Durian Rider online. And I remember just seeing, you know, with the massive jug of smoothies, just, you know, shove it down in his throat and even put sugar in it. And then I was not notified by him, or I didn't watch those videos. So it was, you never know when a person having a video log and basically just talk about a certain topic, and then you just keep going to that topic, but basically the guy or the person has an other level of understanding of, and then he's a professional marathon runner, he's a professional biker, he could run a marathon like any given day, and I was missing that point. It's not his fault,
Yeah.
it was my fault not investigating him. So he didn't do anything wrong, but basically because of you just see a segment of his lifestyle on YouTube, basically you just get a segment of the information. And then when I realized that I was following Durian Rider and freely, and I was eating tons of bananas, but I started gaining weight because I didn't put the exercise routine in. And that was basically to me like a wake-up call that regardless I was following 80-10-10, I was still gaining weight. So I realized that I have to incorporate the movement, but I didn't know that at the time. Later on, when I met with Doug, I realized that when you have the energy, you move your body because you have tons of energy, and also what to eat and what order, and you know, just the fine detail things was making a huge difference. So to me, it was like the failure of following someone on YouTube basically got me going in my mind that I want to learn this, how to do this perfectly or scientifically soundly as Doug, because regardless, I read his book. The life to me is reading a book is not as deep in my cellular structure when I actually from morning to evening you do exactly what's the setup. To me was like at Woodstock at Slovenia, I got this right away, and by the time I ended the Slovenian Fruit Festival, I already signed up for Woodstock because it was so keen that 3 days realizing, wow, this is life altering just being in this environment, not Absolutely. Even just, you know, it's like a total, you know, you're total infusing everybody's energies where they exactly doing the same thing. So this group energy just completely like, oh, let's sit on this flow and then just ride the waves with these people, because it's so much easier instead of just watching a YouTube and then turn off the video and go out and do the exercise, try to create the fruit, or I have to go to shopping, or so it was definitely, I got the idea. And after the Woodstock, immediately next year, Doug. I don't care anybody else, just Doug Graham, because I know he's the guy. This
is what I think smart about you is that there's a lot of people that, to me, there's a lot of people that what they do is they go, I want to learn from everyone, and they try and take this from this person, this from this person, this, and they kind of go very shallow with a lot of different people. And they often say, don't just learn from one person, don't just learn from, and I say, if you find someone that's doing it and it works, learn from them. Like, don't like go and learn, take everything from them and focus, and that you'll get a better experience from doing that. And I think that's something that clearly you've taken. And
yeah, to me was at the Woodstock, because in Slovenia it was basically just was him, Rosie and Grant was the speaker. You remember in Slovenia it was only 3 speakers, and then at Woodstock I realized the area of speakers. So I went to everybody's workshop as much as I could, because my focus already on dog. So I attend all dogs workshop regardless I heard him, but I attended other speakers as well. And at the end of the day, the bottom line, after I slept on the information, what they represented, to me was always like, okay, next year, I'm not coming back to Woodstock next year, because financially I was not able to afford, because Slovenia was so close. I just jumped in my car, drove to Slovenia, bingo. Once Fruit Festival was checkmark. But, and after that year, I realized I only could go one. If I go one, I'm going to dog personally to see what it does when he just teaching 10 people.
Sure.
And it was total different ball game. Total different ball game.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then I went to the Danish Fruit Festival in 2018, I think. I think I went to the Danish Fruit Festival. And I as well, Doug was there. To me, was like, where is Doug? If a fruit festival, speaker is Doug Graham, I'm considered to, let's go. If not, if someone else speaking, to me was like the desire to go there was much less.
Sure.
Yeah.
So something that I was thinking is that when it comes to events, and I've spoken to many people online and got to know people online a little bit, but when I've went to events, I've made people, I've really remembered people and connected with people on a deeper level, and I've not seen you for many years, but you are very, I remember you clearly, and I remember, for example, you also acted as a translator. I don't know if you remember that. There was
yes, to Dandy.
There was a Hungarian man that gave a talk, and you translated the talk.
Yeah.
Your translation was so good. I thought, I wonder if this talk is so good, or if it's Laszlo that's making it so good. Your translation was so excellent. But no, I remember you so clearly, and it's so good to connect again, and so good to see that you're doing so well.
Yeah.
Fantastic. What are your sort of plans for the future? And well, firstly, are you still helping people right now? Can people get in touch with you if they need any support or help, or do you offer any services, mostly the yoga? People can come and get help from, or what is it you do at the moment?
I just, as I just said, I got back from Costa Rica, and we just finished the yoga studio in December, but I had no energy, no emotional strength and stamina to open up a yoga studio. So since I got back, it's basically because I got infused with the, with the tropical settings. We are selling our house, try to sell, or let's see if the government grant we could apply, because we would like to, see if it's possible to go back to Costa Rica and create something like that in there as well. We'll see. I don't know if life gonna provide the time frame to be able to do that, but this is our approach. In the meantime, I'm not teaching yoga at my house. So the studio is not open yet, because we still have to create the reception area. So we still have some work to do with that while we are trying to sell or try to gain some funds. But at the same time, one of the biggest yoga studio in town, in Budapest, invited me. We are talking right now, so I might gonna teach, 2 times a week, 3 times a week in Budapest. It's still in the conversation, which my plan is basically jump on my bike, 30 kilometers, ride to Budapest, teach a Bikram yoga class, and ride home. So it's 60 kilometers between a yoga class. And then, as you know, Bikram, you maybe know, but the teacher there is constantly talking. So it's even more strenuous sometimes, instead of just practicing, because you focus on 40, 50 people in the room. So it's a massive workout in your brain as well, not just a physical workout in the room. So basically, that's my near future looks like. I'm going to be teaching in this studio in Budapest. And at the same time, I'm practicing here at home. Sometimes a friend came, so we practice together, but it's officially is not open, the yoga studio, because our focus with my partner, she's a tropical enthusiast without me. Before we met, she went to Bali all the time, and I visited Hawaii many times as a warm-up fruitarian. Hawaii was my dreamland, dream home. So together, since we got together 8 years, we went to Bali every year, December, end of December, and we came back February. So at that time, we are see if it's possible for us to settle down into Costa Rica. And that's our future plan. If we're able to do that, I would love to create a yoga studio there. She's doing a face remodeling from Russians, helping women to keep their face youthful and young, vibrant, with working with the fascia, not yoga, not face yoga, not yoga, face exercise is basically a very specific things what she's doing. So she could have that online work as well as where the local community. So our future is basically right now, even though we created amazing magic here in Hungary in our home, but we focus on to try to make that base as well in Costa Rica. So that's our plan. We'll see.
So what would be, just to finish off, what would be some of your words of advice for people that are starting off on this path?
I think Doug Graham is the key. I mean, his wisdom, his podcast, his videos is just cutting through the confusion, because it's even in the fruitarian community. It's so much little detail what they're not focusing on. But it's so simple. For example, this couple who I visited there in their fruit farm in the Panama border, the Hungarian couple, is basically they are fruitarian as well, but they're not consuming enough water, for example. Right. So it's so many things in there which you could fall off the wagon, so to speak. So the information is so clear. If you want to be hydrated, is never measure the hydration level, how much you drink or consume. Measure of your hydration level, how much you pee. It's so simple. And if it's only 5 times as it's yellow, I don't care if you're eating fruit all day long, it's not harmonious. You're never going to reach your optimum level of health. Sure. Basically your pee, it has to be between 8 and 12 times per 24 hours, and it's to be clear as possible. So simple things like that. And Doug is always teaching the same thing, 20 something years, not detouring, no gimmicks there. So basically I just see that he's the guy to follow. If anyone could attend his live seminar or live gatherings, is definitely the way to go. That's, to my personal experience, is a life transforming experience. Just be in his presence and receive the wisdom on a cellular level from him directly. That's my advice.
Laszlo, thank you very much for joining me today. It's been to reconnect. I really want to see you again. Maybe I can come to Costa Rica and with you, or come over to Hungary some point. But thank you very much for your time today. And for everyone that's listening and watching, please share this with other people that might you think it might help. And we'll see you in another episode of the Love Fruit Podcast. Thank you very much, everyone.
Take care, brother.